With overlapping activities, you are your own observer. This is just one perspective of looking at your business. But now you already know that there are information and facts beyond this perception of a situation because reality is relative. So let's now look a bit at the traits of the problem and solution from the transition video, because we will meet them throughout this class, through the transition towards the main cause of urgent problems. So the problem is a sum of two conflicting realities. We need a second employee, but we cannot afford one. So this is the first stage of perceiving a problem, which is in the immediate time and space, because this is the first solution that comes to mind. It is a solution that you already know, and your mind gets immediate access to it. Usually when the first solution pops up in your mind, you immediately jump to action. But this time what seems to be a solution is also a limitation, an obstacle, because you don't have the necessary resources. That is why you have a conflicting reality. In this case of conflicting realities, you have to expand the space of the problem and integrate other individual facts from your business until you get a bigger picture or a bigger pattern. And you do this by looking beyond what you think is rational and practical to do, beyond the immediate time and space of the problem. That is why reality in your business is so relative, as you have multiple perspectives of looking at it, which is the different combinations between time and space. This should give you the certainty that everything in your business is connected, even if you don't see exactly what and how, but you stay open to receiving facts and information that apparently might not have value or might not seem relevant at the first glance. Remember, this is done during reviewing times when you are out of work, because in the middle of work your priority is to handle things as usually, and automatically you will reject a lot of information that will seem useless, and the main reason is because your immediate attention cannot handle the whole information that is surrounding you at 360 degrees. It is an automatic elimination process. It was happening the same with me. During the day, I almost never paid attention to clients' behavior, their questions, or my daily routine. But I was reviewing my working day, and only then I became aware of what clients said, how they behave, about what happens in general in my work and in the restaurant. And when I would return back to work, I would have a higher degree of awareness and do things in a better way. So, in the transition process towards uncovering the main source for urgent problems, the main trait of a problem is the fact that it is a sum of two conflicting realities, facts or perceptions. And this is where most small business owners get stuck if they don't find a quick fix, an improvised solution, and the result. So they jump to conclusions. However, now we know that reality is relative, and this makes us trust and believe and be curious to look for solutions and resources beyond the limitations of a conflicting problem. That is why the second trait in transition is that the space of a problem is limited, and we choose to increase it by integrating additional information from the business in order to increase our understanding of the business as a whole, identify new patterns and new resources solutions to our problems. Now, the solution of 2 workers per shift is a temporary one because of the nature of the problem, which is still perceived as an individual one, since this is just the only perspective we have yet. It is part of one pattern, not the whole business. We will realize the temporality of the solution once we identify the main cause for urgent problems in the scattered activities video. So, a short recap: in a highly disorganized environment, problems are mainly the sums of conflicting facts. In order to solve them, we increase the space of the problem, we expect that their solutions to be temporary, and we use them as milestones to increase our understanding of the business as a whole. Now let's see types of solutions you have available for overlapping activities. The first one reallocating resources from inside the business. Like in the example from the transition, me and my colleague changed our schedule, we closed on Sundays and reallocate those working hours, the 12 hours that we had on Sundays during the week to work together. Other option for this category is that you can also bring in additional resources to make your work easier with overlapping activities. For example, as you know, the main kitchen is at the ground floor, and we want to and so when we want to heat a soup, we had to go all the way downstairs from the restaurant to the kitchen, and this was creating delays in the serving process. So the business owner bought an electric heater for our small kitchen at the first floor in the restaurant to avoid going downstairs to heat the soup, and this cut the time for serving in the restaurant. Another example, when we serve in the restaurant, usually we bring silverware to tables together with the food that is ordered. In order to decrease the time of serving even further, silverware are put on tables beforehand in wood boxes, and clients would just help themselves directly from there. So we didn't have to bring it all the time for every meal or every client. So basically, reallocating resources means you move resources from one place to another, or bring in new ones in order to help with handling all these overlapping activities that just come all over you, and to make the activity more efficient. This comes from the understanding that everything in your business is connected, because when you understand that, you will be able to pick up just these like resources from different areas of your business, and make it better and more efficient where it is crowded and it is stressful, where more overlapping activities are. Now let's see another type of solution for overlapping activities. So the second one is changes in the order of performing tasks. Now, our job is multitasking, and changing the order of doing things might seem odd, as in a multitasking job there is no order. It is about doing things randomly. But let's see first the 3 reasons why we had a multitasking job. First, even with 2 workers per shift, we still have 3 types of clients to serve. So for one employee at a certain moment in time, there are always 2 types of clients to serve at the same time. The second reason, each type of client requires a different set of action, of small tasks in order to be served. The third reason, we also have additional tasks apart from serving. We have to clean dishes, pack slices of cake, print labels for food, and so on. An example is when my colleague, for example, is the cashier serving a client to go. In the meantime, at least one client is coming to eat in the restaurant. So I take his order and go to our small kitchen to put his meal in a plate. While I'm preparing the client's meal, the phone is ringing for deliveries. I interrupt the serving process for the client in the restaurant and pick up the phone to take a delivery order. Next, I will continue serving the client in the restaurant and then come back to prepare the delivery that I had taken before. This was the usual procedure. So this is an example of double serving, alternating between 2 types of clients, between the restaurant and deliveries. So this is just a small example for a multitasking job, but the multitasking character of the job depends on different combinations of overlapping factors, such as the number of people serving the restaurant, the number of clients buying to go, the number and frequency of phone calls for delivery, the number of new clients coming in, as they need more time and assistance and had more questions than usual. So others would be if we had enough food to sell, the number of requests for product modifications, and so on. Eventually, the variability of the day and different scenarios for multitasking depend on the sequence of these factors and how often they overlap. So the point here is that we are constantly alternating between tasks and, when possible, doing multiple things at the same time without necessarily serving one type of client all the way through. And so in this messy situation, I try to improve the service flow by changing the order of small tasks because clients are impatient, as noted in the transition video. Yeah. So let's see 3 examples. First, I pack slices of cake one day before to have them ready for the next morning and for lunch when the phone is ringing for deliveries and the restaurant is getting full. Second example, when putting dishes in the sink to be cleaned, I make sure I take the silverware out and put them on the side of them in the sink to fit as many dishes as possible in the sink. If silverware are not put on the side, the sink would get filled faster and dishes would be spread all over the place in our already small kitchen, and we are left with no room to prepare deliveries and meals to serve in the restaurant. Third example, when packing deliveries, in the beginning we were all putting all the products directly in the paper bag and then verify the delivery order to see if there is something missing. But with this method, we are making a lot of mistakes by sending incomplete orders. Clients were getting angry, the restaurant had additional cost with the gas as we had to resend the driver back with the missing product, and also an angry driver because he was already busy anyway sending other orders. So I found a solution to avoid these mistakes by first putting all the products from an order on the counter, verify them, and then put them back in the paper bag. This cut almost all mistakes with incomplete orders. Now, these are 3 small examples of how I changed the order of some small tasks in order to reduce overlapping activities, multitasking, mistakes, and delays in the serving process. So if they seem too small to be relevant, remember that at this point we are still in the transition process. We cannot anticipate most of the urgent problems. So with these 3 small examples, we go through the process just like in the transition video. We make one step at a time. We try temporary solutions without knowing necessarily what the next one is and if it is useful in any way, and we keep track of changes. I mean, we cannot improve the whole business at once, but we can start by looking at the small intersections and overlapping activities that we can control and modify, okay? So remember, these examples are part of the transition process to uncover the main cause for urgent problems. So it is highly probable that these small modifications are just temporary improvisation. So that's why we always keep our eyes open on what happens around, okay?